I'm selling gaming computers and saving up the profits to put a down payment towards a house. I have a down payment goal of about $15,000. I understand I might need more. $15,000 is just something we can work towards. After the last episode, I'm able to add $400 towards the down payment. We're getting closer and closer every time. In today's episode, I sell a couple gaming computers, unbox some computer parts from eBay, and I also build this budget gaming PC right here. We'll get to all that after a word from our sponsor. Super CDK is running their back to school sale, and it's perfect if you just built a new computer or you flip computers for profit. Now, instead of overpaying on a Windows key from Microsoft, visit Super CDK down below. Be sure to use the discount code SPLA to save 25% off. You can get Windows 11 Pro for $22, and you can even get Windows 10 Pro for $17. The discount code also works on other Office products such as Microsoft Office 2019. Once you're ready to check out, they accept different forms of payment, and once you get the key, activating it is so simple. Head to your orders page, click Get Key, then just copy and paste it right into your window activation settings. Just click activate and bam, no more watermark, and you saved yourself $200. Thank you Super CDK for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out their back to school sale with the links below. We're starting today's episode off with a trade-in. I'm pretty sure this is only my second trade-in that I've ever done. And crazy thing, I sold this computer nearly 4 years ago now, and now I have it back. My cost for this thing is basically $0 since it was just a trade-in towards another computer, but it will need a little TLC. Okay, I got it all plugged in. Let's go ahead and see if it works. Press the power button. Okay, I do hear fans spinning. The monitor's right there. Well, that was a quick post. So the base of this computer is a Dell Optiplex 7020. Looks like it has an Intel i5, so let's go into Task Manager and see exactly what the specs are. Okay, opening up Task Manager, at least the computer is running pretty fast and smooth. So we see the CPU, it is a Core i5, it's a 4590, it's a 4th gen processor, 4 cores, 4 threads, no hyperthreading, but it's a decent processor for its age. See the RAM, we got 4 sticks for a total of 16 gigabytes of DDR3 memory. We also have a 500 gigabyte hard drive in here and looks like 128 gigabyte SSD. And for the graphics card, it's a GTX 1050 Ti. So the specs on this little thing aren't too bad. It doesn't sound like we'll have to upgrade anything or add anything. Like I said, it will need a little TLC. So let's open this thing up and I'll show you that it's pretty dirty. Yep, so here we are, first looks. See the CPU fan has just dust built up all around it. The exhaust fan is covered in dust as well. Literally just going to my finger by the touch. But the power supply, it is surprising. It says it's 80 plus gold. It looks like it's a 290 watt power supply, 80 plus gold. So I guess they put a decent power supply in this Dell Optiplex. Then removing the graphics card, you can see it is pretty dirty. Actually kind of disgusting. Single fan GTX 1050 Ti from EVGA definitely needs a little bit of love. We know this computer works. It seems like we can just clean it up and list it. So let's take it outside and start by dusting it out. Okay, the computer's looking a whole lot better now, almost like new, but there's still a couple things I want to do. I want to apply fresh thermal paste to this little GTX 1050 Ti and apply fresh thermal paste to the CPU. Yeah, the thermal paste on this thing, it's all dried up. It's not super dry and like flaking everywhere, but some fresh thermal paste won't hurt. And the thermal paste on the cooler for the CPU, that isn't dry really at all. It's sticking to my fingers. It's not super dry on the CPU, but you can also basically see the CPU, so there's not enough thermal paste. Let's just see if this thing still works. I don't see why it wouldn't, but I guess it's always fun to see if you broke anything while you took it apart. Power button's pressed. Our little monitor's right here. Another fast post. This thing's like lightning McQueen. I'm just doing a fresh install of Windows, then we'll benchmark this thing and get it listed for sale. In Fortnite, I loaded in with performance mode at 1080p with far view distance and everything else was on low. I also capped the FPS at 60 to help with the smoothness. Even if I upped the limit to 120 FPS, that was introducing a ton of stutters. I was honestly expecting better performance, but we averaged 57 FPS with a 1% low of 4. Yeah, I guess Fortnite doesn't run on potatoes anymore. In Valorant, it ran way better. I had it set at 1080p with high settings. Now I'm pretty trash at Valorant, so props to you if you're good at this game. Too bad Fortnite can't run super well on older hardware anymore, but Valorant was more than playable with an average FPS of 208 and a 1% low of 111. For shits and giggles, I also tested Cyberpunk. I wasn't expecting much, but I ran the in-game benchmark at 1080p with low settings, and honestly, I was expecting less than 30 FPS, especially after Fortnite, but we averaged 37 FPS with the 1% low of 24. And to say the least, the game still looked decent even with the low graphic settings. I'm getting ready to list this thing for sale, and as I said, my cost is $0, so let's see how much I can list it for sale. So I have a couple eBay pages pulled up. First one, I just searched for the Dell Optiplex that I have and sorted by i5 and sold listings. One sold for 60, one sold for 15 plus $40 for shipping. So you can see the prices there, about like 60 bucks. Then the graphics card GTX 1050 Ti, it's also around $60. These are all the listings that have sold since like today, which is September 13th. Now I also went over to Jawa and searched for computers that have a GTX 1050 Ti. There's this one with the Ryzen 3 GTX 1050 Ti. They're asking a little bit, well actually a lot, way too much for that computer, $400. Then there's this other one for $230. So I'm going to list at 200 bucks. Jawa will take about $50 in fees, so that'll be like $150 in profit. But if it sells on my Facebook marketplace, that'll be about 200 bucks in profit because the cost was $0. A couple days have passed and I got some great news. We just sold that computer right there. Well, last night. Now all we have to do is pack it up. And yeah, I shaved. Figured it won't grow in thick, so might as well just shave it all off. The package has been successfully dropped off. It's still earlier than 10 a.m. so it should get shipped out today unless this UPS location sucks. I will say the guy that helped me, he's a ray full of sunshine, so like nice, and you know, you just want to be around those type of people. No, he wasn't. Anyways, the computer that sold is the one on screen right now. It was a pretty simple build. It was a Dell XPS video that I made. I case swapped it into a better case, threw in an RTX 2060. My build cost was honestly way too much. I'm not sure what happened with that build, but it was just for a video. The profit, super slim, like under $50, but it was just for a video. So at least we made a little bit of money on it. I'm on my way back right now. I'm gonna work on another computer, and that one should make us a lot more profit than this one. So here's that computer I'm talking about. It's almost a full build. It actually has a graphics card. It's not in there right now, but it's missing a power supply. I bought this on my Facebook marketplace in a bundle deal, and for this computer, I paid $162.50. Now the case that it's in, it's honestly pretty dirty. It does have tempered glass and RGB fans, but it doesn't really fit the aesthetic of the build. As you can see, the motherboard is like this awesome white and silver theme, and the case is just black. I think the motherboard will look way better in a white case, so that's what we're gonna do. Ugh, look at that dust ball that just came out of the freaking AIO. I got everything that I needed from this computer. The first thing is a little storage drive. It's a Toshiba SATA SSD, 480 gigabytes. Then we have 120mm AIO from Cooler Master, and then the motherboard. It's a Z270 Tomahawk Arctic. The CPU is an i7-7700K. We got 16 gigabytes of RAM. And down here at the bottom, there's a little 128 gigabyte NVMe SSD. I said this build didn't have a power supply. You can see this box that says eBay packages and PC parts. I just moved across state, and before I moved, I had a lot of unopened eBay packages, And I think I have a power supply in there. Quick eBay unboxing haul, then we'll build this computer. Sorry if you hear any background noise, there's a jackhammer going on outside. Well, looks like we got a fair amount of unopened packages. We're gonna start with this bigger one. I think this is definitely a power supply. Looks like a power supply box. It's actually 2 power supplies. Let's go, baby. I do remember buying this. Don't remember the exact price, but the eBay screenshot will be up on screen. It looks like we got 2 Corsair CX500Ms. Pretty sure these are 80 plus bronze. They're semi-modular. Let's see what cables we have. Okay, no other included cables. Let's hope they have what we need. Okay, these are getting returned. We have one only has a 24 pin SATA power and CPU power. This one only has CPU power and same thing. Hopefully I can return these. Can't even use these at all. All right, learn from my mistakes. Double check all your eBay pictures, all your eBay listings before you click buy. This seems like a CPU, which is something I do not need. Oh, it's an SSD. Okay, looks like we got a Western Digital 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. I bet it was a pretty good price too. We got 2. Geez, so much has been happening with the move and all this stuff. I actually don't remember buying 2 of these. But yeah, 2 NVMe SSDs, 1 terabyte each. Okay, this box is a little heavier, has the potential to be a power supply. It is. We also got a bunch of little packing peanuts. Looks like I bought another semi-modular power supply. This one has the 24 pin. Okay, I see some 8-pin PCIe connectors and a CPU and SATA. Looks like we got everything we need. This is a Cooler Master V650 80 plus gold. This will definitely work for this build. Okay, we got a CPU. It's an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. It says it has a bent pin. I actually remember buying this. In the description, the seller said that it still works, it just has a bent pin and it goes in the socket. I think I bought it from Goodwill. They sell on eBay sometimes. Okay, I do see the bent pin. That definitely doesn't go in the socket. Yeah, there's 2 bent pins. One of them is like laying down. I'm not even gonna touch this. It's been a while since I bought this, I'll tell you that, probably a month. I'm just gonna see if I can return it. Because it literally says power status, powers on, testing, tested. There's no way this thing powers on and the pin is literally laying down, like it's not going in a socket. Looks like we maybe got some RAM in this one. Yep, we got a G-Skill Ripjaws kit. We got 16 gigabytes, clocked at 3200 megahertz. Not a bad little kit. This will be perfect for a Ryzen build. This has the potential to be another power supply, but I have a feeling it's a graphics card. Did they really ship it in their bed sheets? And these kind of look yellow, man. That's kind of nasty. Okay, let's just, yeah, they shipped it in a bed sheet. Oh my God. Just throw that away. It is a graphics card. All right, we got a GTX 1080. This should have been around $100. Now this would have been perfect for this build that I'm working on right now. But like I said, it already has a graphics card. This is a blower style model, not my favorite. It's from PNY, but it looks to be in honestly great condition. It is super clean. Okay, we got another CPU. Looks to be a Ryzen 5 3600. Please be in good condition. And we got the cooler, that's nice. Here's the CPU. First thing I noticed, it is in the little pin protector upside down. So that is actually not good at all. All right, there is some bent pins, but they're all on the corners. I think there's only 3 actually. This should definitely straighten out, unlike that other Ryzen 5. They did use the cooler, but this also looks to be in pretty good condition. This will be great. I'll just take this apart and spray paint it white. I do that all the time. Get a lot of budget looking white builds out of those. I actually have 2 more eBay packages. Let's do this big one. Got another graphics card. This is an RTX, it's gotta be a 3070. Doesn't say anywhere, but I don't normally buy anything higher than 3070s right now, so that's what I'm gonna assume. An RTX 3070. It's an OEM model, probably from Dell or HP if I had to take a guess, but it looks to be in pretty good condition. Last little package, definitely not a power supply. It's it's probably another CPU if I had to take a guess. Kind of upset because I thought I had more power supplies than I did, but those first two turned out to be useless, can't even use them. Yeah, we got another CPU and packing peanuts everywhere. This one says a Ryzen 7 and it's in a 5000 series box, but I don't think I bought anything that crazy. Yeah, it says it's a Ryzen 7 5800X. Let's go and see what I got though. Another Ryzen 5 3600, okay. I actually do remember seeing this listing and they had it pictured in this box. The pins though. Hey, we finally got all straight pins. No one's confused over here, we're all straight, baby. Well, good thing I had 3 power supplies in that little haul, because now we can build that computer, so let's do that. You already know most of the parts I'm using for this build. We have the Z270 motherboard with the Intel i7 7700K, 16 gigabytes of DDR4, Kingston Fury RGB kit, and it's most likely clocked at 2400 megahertz. As I mentioned, we also have a 128 gigabyte M.2 SSD. It's an Intel 600P series, and I decided to move it to the top NVMe slot. Now to cool the i7, instead of using the dusty AIO, I'm using this white tower cooler from ID Cooling. It was around $20 and this will look way better than the black AIO. To store all these components, like I said, I'm using a white case to match the overall aesthetic of the build. I went with the Sama NewView 4361. I've had this in my inventory since April of this year. I think it's time I finally use it. Power the build, I'm using that Cooler Master power supply that we just unboxed. I hooked it up to a power supply tester and it was perfect. I also decided to pair some white cable extensions to further match the build even more. It just wouldn't make sense to use a white case and have ugly ketchup and mustard connectors. The last and final part of this build is the GPU. As I said, the base computer that we started with, it did have a graphics card and it is this black and white GTX 1070 from MSI. It would look sick to vertically mount the GPU in this case, but it still fits pretty nicely in the build, and I did take it apart and apply fresh thermal paste. Well, the build is done, and honestly, it's looking great. That Sama case is awesome. In total, I spent $283.68. That was a bit more than I wanted to spend, but the case alone was $73. And if you're curious about that other case and the AIO that I didn't use, I valued both of those parts at $10 each. So I was able to take $20 off of the cost. I actually finished building this computer yesterday and I already benchmarked it and it's running great. In Warzone Resurgence at 1080p with ultra settings, we averaged 64 FPS. I also tested Fortnite and it achieved 143 FPS average at 1080p with DirectX 12 settings. And then in Cyberpunk, it averaged 73 FPS with medium settings at 1080p. Overall, this build turned out great and I actually got it listed yesterday as well on my Facebook Marketplace and my Jawa account. Listing that computer made it so I had 4 available for sale, but right after, 1 sold, so now I only have 3 listed. The computer that sold though is actually pretty identical to this one. They have the same CPU, same motherboard, and same graphics card. I bought both of them in the same Facebook Marketplace deal, and they turned out great. The one that sold cost me about $20 more, and after the fees from Jawa, we're left with a total profit of $148.66. In this episode, we sold 2 computers, and I previously mentioned that where I moved to, my local market is not the best, so I'm heavily relying on selling online, like listing on my Jawa account. That will be linked below if you're interested. I list all of my computers there, and sometimes I sell individual PC parts. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe if you loved it, and if you want to watch more of this series, go ahead and click here to watch the previous episode, or when I upload the newest episode, it will be right here.